And welcome back to episode 2 of the TNT Survivor recap. Jake is on vacation this week, so we are joined today by Emily making her return. Let's see, you came on for 40, you came on during the live stream for 46,
The
right?
year was a little bit earlier this year.
Some
Hello. Yeah, it was earlier. I was actually in between tutoring a few of my little darlings in the evening. So thank you so much for having me back. I missed you terribly.
I've missed doing this with you. I think the last time we did this together was, I don't know, was it 44?
I think
No, because we did Gia's together last season,
yeah,
maybe. I don't know.
we keep the tradition going, you know? We
Yeah.
just wish it was longer.
Uh, Jake mentioned that he wasn't going to be able to record this week. Emily was the first person I hit up, the only person I hit up.
Aw,
And
that's so nice.
um, And yeah, I think that you're back. Very good episode. I mean, we're off to a hot start with this season just in general. I feel like this episode even did a nice little thing of, we talked about this last week, where episode 1, um, they had spent all off season teasing, that a certain someone was going to be like this big important character. They were going to be the next, that, and the other, only for them to, pull a fast one on us, and he's actually the first one gone. I feel like in this episode, I feel like they're telegraphing, hey, it's going to be TK, it's going to be TK, and then the last segment before they go to tribal, it's like, oh no, it's not going to be TK. It's going to be something totally different, only for it to actually be TK at the end. So what have you thought about the season so far?
Andrew, let me tell you, this season I'm eating it up. 10 out of 10, no notes, fabulous. I think that and I've been telling you this every season, but I really do mean it this season, and
Okay.
others, but in a much bigger scale. I
Okay.
think that they have really found their niche with the blend of both casting and editing, that it's just beautiful. I think that we get a little bit of something for everyone. We get the characters that you love, the characters you love, the characters that you hate, the characters that you love to hate. You get an incredible idea of not just gameplay, but just the basic camp life, which is what we've been begging for, to understand more of those tribal dynamics. And on top of that, the freaking drones. Incredible. 10 out of 10, no notes. I've been loving watching so many of these challenges because it's just it's so not just modern, it's postmodern, eating it up.
Yeah.
And yeah, again, the casting is incredible. Long live Mother Sue. That's my very, very short little clip note.
Okay.
So yes,
And
that's how
and I will say that, I mean, I've been a big fan of the new era. I know that to
Mhm.
some people that's a hot take in itself, but I don't think that it is. I think that this season so far, like I said last week, everyone's pretty memorable right now. I haven't forgotten that certain people exist yet.
Sure.
You mentioned the challenges, the challenge that they did this past week or the other day, was different.
Hmm.
Like the last section of it was similar to things we had seen in the past, but it felt new. Because it wasn't the exact same thing that we have done in the past. It's just a little tweak there that made it different. And I think that another thing with how they're doing the idols now, where there are so many things that you have to do to find one idol, and there are rest stops along the way to
Yeah.
say, oh yeah, if you want now, we can do it like this, or if you want later, we can do it like this. So what have you really enjoyed this season in particular that may have been hit or miss with previous seasons, specifically 41 through 46?
I agree with you. Okay, so the first thing that I noted, because as you know, I like to do my research before every episode because I do a Survivor Fantasy League, which is amazing, by the way. And also, remember the time you were in last place? Anyway, so
Am I still in that place?
no, you're not anymore. You did a good job,
Okay.
but I digress. I love the fact that when I was looking at a lot of the pictures for each one of these challenges before they happened, and I was like, oh, they're gonna bring back the snake puzzle thing again. I don't know why. I don't know how they're gonna lift it up. I was trying to pose those questions, but they did such an amazing job at just tweaking it. Like, I don't even think that as fans, we ask them to fully reinvent the wheel all the time. Even if you change some of the dynamics, it completely changes the perspective of the game itself. And I love they did it so early because it really pushed for like, it shined a bigger light. And I think that it actually is one of the big reasons that TK went home is it put like the camaraderie and the gamemanship on blast, and like the cohesion was really like the center point. Loved it. So I like that a lot. And I'm trying to think, like, honestly, I love the one thing that I will critique. I know that I might be jumping ahead, but
That's fine.
my critique is at Jeff Probst. Like, my thing is, like, sweet baby Rachel was so resourceful. Every single person had access to this rice. Like, and to me, I feel like it was so fair for her to take advantage of the things that were in front of her that she had access to be able to pawn some of the rice. Everyone else could have freaking done it, but she was the only one who thought to do it, and no one else noticed. And I thought that was gangster as heck. And that should have been something that they should have allowed, or at least completely just ignored. You know what I like? You can't hand rice to hungry people and be like, don't eat it, you know? Like,
Yeah, I will say, I kind of look at it as like the Liz situation from last season, where because Liz didn't ask during that final four immunity, they just kind of let it go. And I feel like if Rachel had asked to take the rice, yeah, they would have said no. But the fact that she didn't, she just kind of said, yeah, she was trying to be resourceful. That close up was amazing of her just, tucking it in her pocket. And watching it live, I just thought that was just like a cool little moment. And even when Jeff was like, before we get to anything, and I'm like, what's going to happen here? And he brings that up. I'm like, there's no way that, this is actually happening. And, I don't think it's the worst thing that he told her to pull the rice out. I just do think, given the fact that she didn't ask and she was just trying to be resourceful, just let them do it. The pocket full of rice is not gonna. It's not gonna.
Like, how much of advantage is that really? Yeah,
because they already won the challenge. So
yeah, like I just like to me that was my qualm with like our ever holy father Jeff Probst, that I disagreed with that decision. Do not give me that little eye twitch. We all know he's God. Yeah. So and then the other thing that I was gonna note was like on Tyson's podcast, he talks a lot about how like there were things that he would like swipe from like, from different like challenges and stuff. And like they never caught it, but is the only reason that they called it out for Rachel just because they got it on camera, Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I disagree.
That could be entirely possible. But I mean, we don't know how these people have snuck things in the past. I did feel like, at least from what we're shown, it seemed like she was being pretty sneaky about it. It doesn't look like anyone else saw it happen either, like anyone else playing. And obviously, because it's very similar to when idols are hitting at challenges. And I actually thought that that's what was happening at first. I thought because of the way they cut to it, and I was like, oh, is it hidden in? No, it's just right. So I think that if that is the qualm, then this episode was pretty good. Because if that's a qualm, the episode's pretty good. And we can go.
I loved it. That's all I had to say. Just holy crap. Continue. I'm cutting you off.
I want to kind of pick up where we kind of left off last week with the Andy of it all. Andy this week starts, trying to show off for the tribe, and the tribe are all giving him his kudos and saying, way to go, Andy, this, that, and the other. And you can tell that one, a lot of it is kind of just fake, but two, everyone's just kind of agreeing that we're just going to keep him around because he's an easy boot if they were to lose again in this episode.
Sure.
The problem is Sam, for some reason, wants to do a big move. And everyone that listened to the marathon over the weekend, over the summer, knows how I feel about that kind of gameplay, especially this early on in the game. So what do you think about everyone, having this mentality of Andy's just an easy vote? And how did you feel when you found out that, oh yeah, Sam actually wants to go somewhere else because it's time for a big move 2 rounds into a game.
Okay, so I go back and forth. I think that my gut, if I was in that group, maybe that's also because I experienced Banu Gate last season, and it was very fresh in my mind. Like I feel like there's typically no such thing as an easy out, and to someone, no matter what vote out, it is going to be a big move for someone because it changes your level in the totem pole, per se. Um, on that same accord, like I know that I wasn't present last week, but I do think that it does change the dynamics a lot because I know that everyone's giving Andy all this attention, and they're like, oh, like just Andy, like we'll put him to the side because we just want him to perform well in challenges. A, it worked, but B, like now he's basically, it looks like, he's going to be Sam's secondhand man. At least he's his number 3 or number 2, I guess, as opposed to Sierra. Like, I think that like people want to be too big too quickly, especially in a season where the days are cut much shorter. So like you feel like there's you're battling something that's much more quicker paced. But like I don't know, like does that make sense? Like I just think that
It makes sense.
The second vote out is not the time to make the really big move because you still have a lot more vote outs until you get to the merge, or you're even close to it.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up because we also talked about last week how we're now in the era where these people know what 50 is, and some people might be trying to play for that. Where it's just like, all right, yeah, I'm fine if I lose here as long as I'm doing all types of craziness because the slots are very small for post. I would assume for post 46. To that.
Wait, what'd you say? Sorry, you cut out.
Do you think that any of that could have gone into Sam's thinking in that situation?
I didn't go to Sam immediately whenever you said that. My thought was like, well, that seems like what Rome's doing. Like I yeah, I mean, I think that you're right. Like, I don't think that as much went, could be wrong. Like, I think that like a player like Sam is someone who wants it's like a go-getter, like we get them every year. Like I think like Brad Culpepper, in Blood versus Water. A moment. But like the people who don't I don't want to say value, but they don't like as much consider time. They just see what's in front of them and they just go for it. And when I'm watching how Sam plays, and like how much he's jumping at immediately, it's giving not only like 24-year-old energy, which I think is how old he is, but it's also giving like he like, just like that, like just the person who doesn't fear the risk, that there's players like that. And I think that he really like embodies that itself.
Yeah, and I will say that I really like episode 4, Sam, everything dealing with the idol and him and Andy having that moment where Sam's like, oh yeah, I worked in what was it? It was musical theater.
Yeah,
and it's like good, but yeah, he had to save face when Andy's like, oh, I think somebody else has it. I thought that was great. I thought that was a fun moment.
Jeez. Can I ask you, Andrew? Because I know I texted you this like at like the butt crack of dawn, because I was rewatching it. Do you think that Andy's decision, like to leave it, was an all-out terrible move, or do we think that it was just edited that way because of Andy's appearance last episode?
I think it's the latter. I mean, there have been a lot of bad moves in Survivor. Yeah. I think that even his hiding spot was so good that he forgot where it was that to a certain point. So like I made to portray him like everything that happened, but I do think it was shown the way that it was because Andy has been shown to be a lot. And so you give him the full edit in that situation. But I mean, it also, it works. It works because the person that finds it knows that Andy, or now knows that Andy was the one that found it initially. I think that it still could work. I think that things could still work out for Andy.
Yeah.
Working out is relative, but like,
I think I agree with you. I think that you're right. I watched it like yesterday, whenever I was like a beer in at the bar. And I was like, well, like I was like, what is he doing? Like that little goober, like, oh, sweet Andy. But like rewatching it this morning, with a clear head, I was like, that's actually not a bad move, because if you think about it, like we saw what the other beware advantages looked like. Like sometimes you had to like wait until other people found them, or like the steps were so complex that you had to wait until like hours right beforehand, and if it was 3-3 and they were depending on his vote to be able to determine the future of the tribe, like it was okay that he left it. I mean, I'm glad that like fortunately like his like newfound alliance member found it and it actually earned more trust. But like
yeah.
I didn't think it was that bad of a move. I actually thought that it was kind of smart.
Question: which was worse, Andy leaving the idol or Teeny getting caught showing Rome's idol? You can handle that.
Does it matter if Rome sees anything? That's a really good question. I I don't know. I think that I don't think that it was that bad. That I think that maybe it was worse. Okay, that like Teeny got caught seeing Rome's idol. The only reason being that now she like Teeny put a target on their back.
Mhm.
But I think that it just put Teeny on blast for being a more cutthroat character. But like not in a bad way,
Yeah.
and like I don't know, that's kind of like I think Andy leaving the idol actually earned him more trust in the tribe and brought him higher up. I think it put Annika down, to be honest.
No, so the why do they call Andy Baby Andy?
Yeah,
I
why
mean,
do they?
I
Rob
I
says,
just assumed it was because of,
I will tell you, I've listened to every RHAP episode. So I will tell you, Thomas McGee, hello. Happy Thursday. I will tell you that they've asked Rob Sestardino this a handful of times, and Rob pushes it away and says that it's his story to tell. I would assume that it may be just who he is as a person, if I had to guess. But I could be wrong. What are you? Do you know anything more than I know?
oh no, I don't know. I was my guess would have probably been around the same thing. It's like, oh yeah, because especially the way that the episode started with them cheering him along as he's cutting the coconut, it felt like when you're sitting around and you're watching your baby build blocks for the first time and you're cheering the baby on to do that.
Yes.
That's what went to my head. Now, if it turns out that it's like something deep and dark or something like that, then cool. It's very similar to how the whole Weasel Woo thing from Kagayan,
Mm,
where everyone's calling it Weasel Woo, but we don't know watching why they're calling Weasel Woo, and doesn't turn out to later that we figure out why that is. So that's probably whenever Andy gets the boot, ever gets the boot, that we'll find that out. Then you'll have to let me know because
that's the thing.
uh,
The people need to know. The people need to know. I'm not wishing ill will on most people in this season to get voted out. The only reason that I want Andy to get voted out is just so I know why we call him Baby Andy, because everyone calls him that. Excellent question, Thomas McGee.
um, so as we move on, and this is another thing that I will say about the season, it never felt like it was dragging leading up to the challenge.
Mm-mm.
Like an hour or so had passed and it didn't feel like it. And when they came back and they went to the challenge, I'm like, wow, okay, we're already here.
Yeah.
I think they did dedicate 2 segments post challenge. They had like 2 or 3 post segment challenges. Anyway, you
Yeah.
know what I'm trying to say. Um, but we get to the Red Tribe, which I feel like we didn't spend that much time with this episode, and I feel like we haven't spent that much time with them. Period. But
Yeah. They're just happy to be here,
what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts overall on their tribe?
Eat them up. My winner pick is Asia. I stand by her. Like I just think that she's a phenomenal option, and I hope that she's the person who wins. Fingers crossed. But like I think that the characters are have so much depth. there's a few standouts and a few people that kind of sit behind the sidelines, but there's also just the edits showing, but like the person who really is blowing my mind right now is also Teeny, because I'm like, oh my gosh, like Teeny, I was nervous because kind of like the excitement, like being younger, you're just more likely to be more excited and like less likely to weigh out every single possibility before you jump for something, especially if you're a huge super fan of Survivor. Could work well for you, but could also work like in your detriment. Love Teeny, but we also saw that obviously with what she did with Rome, showing Keyshawn Rome's idol. I love that. Rome was someone that I knew from the beginning was gonna potentially ruffle some feathers, and I love when I'm right. So I'm glad that was something that I've been able to experience as well. It's a solid tribe with some depth, but it also has some like, like I think there's a much further way to go, especially with some of these other characters. Like I think like Genevieve and Solomon,
Two things. One, I saw the comment last week, and I realized once we got off the air that I had been pronouncing Asia's name wrong the entire time, which is ironic. Which is ironic because when I watched the episode live 2 days before that, drunk at a bar, I kept calling her by her right name. So when we finished, and I realized what I had been doing, and then I comment, it's like, yeah, for some reason, I'm like laggy as hell today. I don't know why.
No problem.
But the other thing is a little birdie told me. So anyone that watched the Day 46 live stream, there was a Survivor 47 player in the chat room that was incognito because the cast hadn't been announced yet, this, that, and the other. And a little birdie told me that was Rome. So I don't know if that's true or not, but if it is, he seemed very positive about how things turned out for him. We'll see. So I know that you said that your bae, your mama season, Sue. Why is that? Because I feel like she had a lot of stands when the cast was leaked. And I feel like it's grown since then.
Let me tell you why we love Mother Sue. How much time do we have? I'm just kidding. So the first thing, she's so hot. Like she's amazing. Like she is like every single thing about her not only makes people want to gravitate towards her, just everything she is as a person, but like she is so strategic and it doesn't even come off as manipulative. Like I think that you can really see like some of the things that she does versus what Gabe does, kind of similar, right? Like trying to get other people to join their group and join their side. When Sue brought Carolyn in, Carolyn resonated with her, listened to her, gravitated. The second that Gabe tried to bring Carolyn in, it was, I went to business school. I know his type. I know what he's trying to do. And Carolyn's reading him right. I not only love that, but I think that I saw her strategic side in a much bigger light, especially with this TK blindside. I was very nervous because a lot of it, like historically, thankfully this has not been the case in the later, like in the new era, but usually the oldest woman goes home first. And I'm like, don't y'all touch my Mother Sue. She's amazing, and she was able, like, it would not have happened without Gabe. I stand by that. I think that Sue was the one who was able to orchestrate that blindside, and I credit her wholeheartedly. So yeah, I think that she's just the entire package.
Okay. And why, going off of that, why do you think that Gabe played the idol for himself in that situation? Because, there's a lot that we're not seeing, but like in that situation, it kind of feels like it's going Sue or TK, period. Mm-hmm. Do you think that he did that to, in case we go to rocks or whatever, I'm just saving my ass?
No.
Or do you feel like it was?
I think it was, I was actually, oh, do you hear that? A man with a motorcycle is outside. Don't even get me started. But I actually talked about this with Kim a little bit earlier. Hey, Kim, love you. I think, and I think that she agreed with me. I think that it was just because of one comment. Carolyn made a comment near the end and she was like, well, only one of us is running around and making noise and making it clear, that they're looking for, like idols. And and at that moment, Gabe knew that he had been caught. And in his mind, he thought that no one knew that he was looking at all. And in that moment, I think that he was like, well, are they trying to blindside me? Oh,
Yeah.
Wait, who? TK and Sue didn't like each other at all? Or that him being
the
Gabe?
vibe that I was getting. I mean, that is the vibe that I was getting.
Gabe, spill it.
That's the vibe that I was getting during the episode. I felt like, okay, maybe it's just because, they've split up into these little cliques, but it definitely, because had his moment of I don't, where he's confronting her. Oh, who's he confronting? He's confronting, who's the other person in his alliance that flipped?
Wait, what? Oh, the Tiana.
Yeah, he's confronting her about how, oh, don't go to other people when this happens. Come to me. And then right after, he's like, oh yeah, we're good. Okay, anyway, we're voting Sue. And it's like there was no talking. It was like, we're going Sue. And at Tribal, he's talking about how had more than 3 conversations with Sue.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, dude, it felt like it was coming on strong, but also I did feel like there might have been some actual tension there between the two of them, that may transcend the game.
Well, here's my thing. Get my mother's name out your mouth. She's everything. I really like TK. I'm I know that maybe it sounds like I'm being negative, but just because I'm defensive of my mother. But TK to me, he good one, Kim. TK to me, I was really high on him at the start, and then I was like, they aren't featuring him at all. I wonder why that is. Because I feel like he's such a standout character, has such a great story, has such a great background. And at that moment, that's why in my mind, I was like, I don't think it's going to be Sue. I think it's probably going to be TK because they edited him in a much worse light than they did with Sue, the bro monologue was genius. And that was the other thing that I had to make sure that I should that was probably one of my favorite edited clips, with the exception of the one with whenever Marianne and Lindsay were talking and they panned over to Jonathan's face just looking like that was genius. It was probably one of my favorite things.
I thought you were going to compare it to the Metallica scene from 45.
Oh, that was fine. That was fine.
Last season.
Yeah.
That scene annoyed me because it went on forever. I felt like this one and this episode, it went on for probably 30-ish seconds. And it was so funny because it was, bro. At one point, he references the Paul brothers. And unless you know that the Paul brothers box other influencers, you just think that he's just talking about random things, which he is. But it was in that moment, I'm like, oh, I know exactly what he's talking about. I do feel like I'd probably get annoyed if he's just going from thing to thing, just talking about everything. But that was just a fun little, I guess, little nugget there of he's talking about the Paul brothers when he's saying that. I think TK did get a very bad, I won't say bad edit, but it was very apparent that TK was kind of the antagonist of this episode.
Mm-hmm.
And
absolutely.
like I said at the beginning of this, they do a good job of okay, yeah, if they lose, it's going to be TK. Even though there's this 3-3 thing going on, TK is antagonizing a lot of folks. He's calling people out after the challenge, and then all of a sudden we get back to camp, and he has his little moment where it's oh yeah, I hate losing, and y'all, I hate losing too. I get it. Losing is the worst.
Yeah.
But there's a big difference how TK and Sam went about, the puzzle there at the end, because Sam's like, guys, let's stop. All right, let's go. And then TK is just he's rolling his eye the way that what's being shown. He's rolling his eyes. He's doing that and he's doing this. And it's yeah, okay, well, he might be done if we get to this point.
100%.
Making it seem oh, yeah, we might be going to rocks here.
Yes.
The other thing about that, go ahead.
I was going to just say on that same page, after he called out Tiana, like the way he handled it was the opposite, of how he should have handled it, in my opinion, from someone who sits on the couch. I know that I'm not in the game, but these are my hot takes. Like when after they lost and he was like, well, I don't like when we're smiling, like we're winners, like we can't smile when we lose. Like Tiana automatically thought that it was something that was with her, and maybe it kind of seemed like it was, like from my perspective, maybe he didn't mean it specifically with her. But as soon as Kyle was like, hey, like bro to bro, am I right? Whenever he's like, hey, like you need to like address this because like we need her like as a number, in order to take out Sue. The way he addressed it was like the exact opposite way that I think that you should address it whenever there's conflict.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't like, I heard that you were upset by this. I'm genuinely so sorry. Like I will remember, whatever. Like instead he was like, I don't like whenever people talk about me behind my back. Like, which is just, again, like still amplifying like that, like shame that he's trying to put on Tiana instead of trying to rebuild the alliance that he desperately needs in order to stay in the game,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I feel like all of that is kind of leading to the eventual flip at the end. And I think that when she says something along like sorry or whatever on his way out, and he's like, oh, I'm fine. I think that was just her saying it was me in that spot. But before we get to tribal, I do kind of want to touch on a big moment, even though it probably is only about 5 seconds of the episode.
What's the moment?
Them showing up to the challenge and Andy still being there, and everyone's reactions, including Andy, who is just on cloud nine, like smirking at everyone, saying, "Oh man, I got him." This, that, and the other. I know last week, me and Jake both sat here and said it was 0% chance that he did anything last week strategically. As far as the emotional breakdown that he had, we both felt like, as people with anxiety, this, that, and the other, it was probably a real moment for him. Now that I see that scene, it's like, okay, I'd still say about 90% sure that he really had an emotional breakdown, but there might be a 10% chance that it's like, oh man, I'm really playing with these folks, and I'm gonna wink, wink, nudge, nudge to everyone, like, oh yeah, like I survived this, So I'm excited if Andy stays. I'm excited to see the narrative that these other tribes, or like the perceptions that the others have about him, or if there's like another summit or something, them figuring out what Andy is all about.
I think that's a really interesting take because like I like wholeheartedly, like as someone who also has anxiety, I wholeheartedly believe like that was like a straight up anxiety attack. Like, oh my gosh, thank you, Mama Sue. Thank you, Sarah. Thanks for agreeing with me. Anyway, okay, I'm distracted. I'm going back to Andy. Here I go, full tilt boogie. So my thing is, with Andy, is what was it? It was something important. I wholeheartedly believe that it was an anxiety attack. Homeboy was convulsing on the floor, like he was panicking because it's like you're taking someone out of their entire environment, and like all of a sudden you're like BBFFs with everyone. Like I think that like maybe he had like a different a different hope of how it would start, and then he went into complete shock because it was everything he ever wanted, and all of a sudden he like felt like he was on the bottom, whether that was true or not. Like I am entirely intrigued to see how the rest of the group takes them, and if I only watched the first episode, I would be like, homeboy's a goner, like like Banu status, like outie, like.
Well, I mean, you say that, but Banu lasted what, 4 episodes? So
I don't know why. I don't know. I can't answer all those questions. But all I'm saying is this: like, but Banu still kind of stayed like pretty low on the totem pole, but they kept him for numbers. But like, I wonder, like now that he's basically Sam's number 2. Like, because I think if I had to guess in that group, Annika is absolutely on the chopping block, like for sure. I wonder, like, if they were able to keep him to the merge. We've never seen someone who like experienced like that sort of like pitfall so early make it to the merge, usually. you know, like a new
Oh,
era.
okay. I can name one person in the new era that's done that. Oh,
Who?
okay, not that far down, but like financial analyst Emily Flippin was
Oh, Emma.
very.
Well, she didn't have a mentee B though. Like she just like she started.
No, she didn't.
Yeah, yeah. She like which like she was just one of the girlies from almost the start, you know. But she did have a huge comeback, so that's a really good point. I like can't believe we're going to be comparing Andy to Emily Flippin. This is a moment. Two different, complete different character arcs, all
I know
following
that
the
might
exact same
upset people because
way.
everyone's putting Andy in this Banu category, and like my beef, I guess, with Banu has long since gone. Like, I think I got it all out during the 46 stream because
Mhm.
I had to deal with
Fair.
it back to back to back that
Sorry.
day. But like as it's passed, like Banu's a funny character that
He's
doesn't
a
outstay his welcome.
Oh yeah, like I have like I know that it sounds like I have a lot of like shade. I don't mean it that way, but like I do mean that there are like just certain people who like again like I think that I might even be one of them, you know, like if you came into this environment and it's brand new, you know, you think you can handle it one way, but like you know whenever there are just so many unfamiliar like circumstances, you know, all directly embedded, like you're not sure how you're going to react. There's always one, you know, at least that's what I've learned in the new era.
Yeah,
So I don't know. He was still great.
yeah.
I enjoyed his spirit, you know,
Yeah.
that's all I got.
Damn. Um, I know. Okay, I think that this is going to be the running gag all season, and I apologize because I did during the marathon continuously rag on Ozzy. So I think that at some point or another in the chat, every single time someone's going to bring up the fact that and the fact that I would bring up Ozzy's OnlyFans. What do you think about Gabe this season?
Dave? Who's Dave?
Gabe, Gabe,
Oh, Gabe. I was like, there's a character I don't know.
Gabe.
I fear. Well, okay, actually, I drew a great parallel for him in my mind today, and I'll tell it to you all live. But like to me, I'm seeing a new re-envisioned, like Natalie White slash Russell duo with Mama Sue and Gabe. Gabe, I'm certain, is really trying to play that aggressive game. I love him as a character because it really does bring me back to the old era. Like I know that they're really trying to do that, but like haven't succeeded with a lot of these newer players. He is like I would like new era Russell, you know, but like maybe like less like problematic. Like I really enjoy watching him play without caring how like the relationship component impacts him, and I'm curious to see how far he's going to get in a game that's based on relationships like entirely, you know? It's interesting.
Yeah. Oh, and I briefly want to touch this. We did already discuss it, but we both kind of agreed. Just let the woman have her rice. It's not much. Just bring it back to camp.
He's starving.
There's a history. Yeah, there's a history of doing this anyway. I didn't see anything wrong with it. Emily didn't see anything wrong with it. But yeah, we touched on it. We both agree. As far as Gabe's concerned, he's fun. He's fun. That's why I wasn't. You made a Russell Hand appearance, and I'm like, no,
Not
stop.
in that
Now I can't
way.
like Gabe. Now
I'm
I can't
sorry.
like Gabe.
I'm sorry. But
No,
like,
but
you know what I
I
mean?
do enjoy him.
I miss having characters like that. Like like, and I think it was like a comfort. He's like a comfort character, but in all the obscure ways. You know, oh my gosh, my cat says hello. Oh, excuse you. Like to me, like I love watching people play so aggressive without like the fear of relationship situations. It's a good blend whenever you have people who really care. And yes, that's Phoebes. Oh, hello. But like whenever we have people who don't care and then people who do. And I love seeing that social experiment of how far each one of them get. You know, just based on skill and likability. It's cool.
And Jake, I think Jake brought this up last week about Gabe, where he felt
Yeah.
like up everyone else, Gabe is definitely potentially playing for 50, just off
Yes.
of the first episode. And I think going to episode 2, I think this is another one where it's like, okay, yeah, we're starting to get to a point where if we were to do this every week, I guess we are doing this every week, but if at the end of every episode, me, Jake, whoever else we have on, sat there and said, okay, if we were to pick someone from this season to come back for 50, who would it be? I think as of right now, Gabe's probably batting 2 for 2.
For sure.
Will that continue? I don't know. All right, I might have to rant here because he didn't. He didn't change the game.
Sorry,
he didn't change the game because Gary Hogaboom found an idol without any clues. So Russell did it second. But and everyone kind of knows how I feel about Russell. So like, everyone kind of knows how I feel about Russell. So like, yeah, I will never give that man credit for anything. I think he's just the worst. Roman Gabe, hold on. Roman Gabe have the feeling of wanting a 50 spot. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
But, okay. I get it. I'm going to push back. I'm gonna I mean maybe they both want the 50 spot. Like that's fair. Gabe, I think actually has a legitimate shot at this point. I don't know what Rome's going to look like later. Okay. I'm like, I don't know. I have like, I'm unsure about how far Rome's going to continue to go. And like, I would just like to see more of that strategic bone in Rome's body, which I haven't been able to see yet. I mean, we haven't seen a lot of them, but I don't know. I definitely think that Gabe at this point in very short episodes, the 2, to me, I think has a better shot than Rome does.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. We're like I said, we could do this every single episode, and we could get to a point where it's just all Rome. It's very similar because like even Q last season, I sat here and said, oh yeah, there's no way Q is going to make it far. He's talking down to Banu, saying, hey, I'm Boston Rob and you're Philip. Just a lot of the stuff he's doing. And then by the end of it, it's like, oh yeah. Like I watched Liz Wilcox did a live stream on Instagram yesterday. And she had 1 or 2 people from her cast on there, and they all agreed that Q would be a shoe-in for 50. And it's like, yeah, but Q had to grow on some of us, but like as a whole, if you don't remember anything else about 46, you remember Q and you remember everything that happens with the final 4, final 5. As far as where is it? As far as them not having a personality, just cockiness and big hair, that's Ozzy. That's Joe, except for Joe doesn't have a personality. He just had big hair. Ozzy, yeah, he was very cocky and had big hair 2 of the times he played. So it's like I'm not saying that Gabe is Ozzy at all. I think I like Gabe, but I don't feel like you necessarily have to have the largest personality. Malcolm is someone that I enjoy for the most part. Malcolm never had the.
Don't say the but. Oh, he's everything.
Oh no, yeah, he never had the larger than life personality. Mm-hmm. He was fun to look at for a lot of people. He had a great story his first season, and then kind of just was there his 3rd season. We got screwed by JT sort of. And then in Caramoan, he had the hold up rental moment. So like, you don't necessarily have to have an all-time in order to play, in a later season. Yes, yeah, he's not Ozzy, but I'm saying his big hair and cocky is Ozzy. Like that is what Ozzy was. That is what Ozzy was. As we start to wind down a little bit, we still got time. What were some of the big things that we haven't touched on that you wanted to touch on?
just Mother Sue. I know that I already got there. I'm trying to think what other big things. I think the one thing that I still want to touch on just all together is sweet baby Kyle. Like he is just like everything he says. He's carbon copy Ian from um
Palau.
Palau. I almost said Panama. I'm like, that's not right. Um, Carbon copy, like sweet baby, you know? I'm excited to see how losing his number one ally is going to impact his game. Is he going to turn into this like crazy superhero out for revenge for his BFF bro? You know, like I look forward like fully to how he's gonna like regroup after that situation. And then so that's kind of how I feel. Like what I just kind of want to know, like, do you have any like who's like your big standouts right now?
I will get to that.
Baby
I will
Kyle.
get to that, but that is like Kyle has a confession where he's talking like it's after they lose the challenge, and he's talking about how the strategic part of the game is like he's not all the outdoors, but he's not really about these other aspects of the game. I'm like, well, when those votes came through, it's like, yeah, you were very clueless about how TK was going about things. Yeah, he is, and like that's fine. We can have characters like that. But Kyle, I fear for Kyle right now. I don't necessarily think that he would be the next one to go if that tribe loses again. I do feel like Kyle's the type of person that people kind of just for the ride, and that can change. We're 2 episodes in. We've got a long way to go, but that was not the best, and it was a blind side. You got to keep certain people out. I get it.
No.
But that the confessional that it was very telling of him saying, "Oh yeah, the strategic part, I'm not really there for that." It's like, okay, yeah, that's not good, man, because it's either social or strategic. You can't just want to be in the woods. This is not, season 1 through whatever. We did briefly touch on the idol play, and we did briefly touch on why we think that Gabe played it on himself. Do you think, obviously, once again, 90-minute episode, do you think that he should have played it at all? Do you think
I take it back. I take it back. I agree with Gabe Ruiz. Hey friend, I agree with you. I know that originally, like, some people were being like, well, he played it and like he did it like in order to prevent him from doing the whole rock draw. I think we talked about this a little bit earlier, but like to me, I think that the thing that Gabe lacks right now is not as much numbers, but it is trust, and like I think that comment from his ally is really what shook him up, which understandably makes sense why he played it on him, but if he knew that the targets were like his ally or TK, it was in his best interest to be able to show that he can be a selfless character, which is honestly what earned other people who are similar to him and his archetype trust from other seasons that you don't want me to say, but that's what I think. Whenever Russell played for Park, that's
devil's advocate. I hear that it's a public idol. Get rid of it. Plus, Tiana thinks Sue has a female alliance. Female alliance is real. Gabe is actually in it. I don't think that's devil's advocate. Like,
no, I agree with you too. I think that like he should have played it like point blank, because if everyone knows that he has it, I know that was news to him and he had to kind of think on his feet, but he should have played it to show that they're all on the same playing field to lessen his threat level, especially when it's this early and he can still get another idol. And now he learned from experience that he can't be loud as heck trying to open it. Like, what was he doing, Andrew? What was he doing? He was like,
he was having fun. His playing Survivor. Better baby bird than the headless chicken. Yes.
Ooh, that's a beautiful line.
Can't disagree with that. But ultimately, TK goes home 4-2. And I mean, from what we're showing, it seems like he takes it pretty well. GG's everyone, and he bounces. Um, did you have high hope? Did you have high hopes for TK going into the season? Where is he someone that you kind of were
I
looking at,
want
or
to ask you this actually. Okay, so I'm gonna answer, but then don't let me forget to ask you a question about my answer. Um,
okay?
to me, like I listened to all the preliminary interviews beforehand because I'm like insane the second that Survivor stuff drops. I'm in it, you know? And ate up TK's interview. It was one of my highest, he's one of my highest ranked players, but I held back because like his story was just so beautiful. He had a few red flags, and one of which was like I think it was like, you know, I'm just gonna keep playing this game as hard as I can for as long as I can. And like that to me is like it puts a huge target on you from the start, you know? Um, but like I thought that at least he was gonna make it to merge. And I was like, and I told you this earlier, I'm like, why was he not getting featured anywhere? Why was he not on any single preliminary commercial, any trailer? He was on nothing. And there was a reason for that. But like I got all tripped up and the whole John Lovett thing happened. I was very confused. Because I was like, they gave him the spotlight. Anyway, like my question for you on my answer, A is what same question for you. What were your thoughts on TK before? And then like B is like how do you think this is going to change the trajectory of the Blue Tribe? Do we think that like he's such a strong competitor? Was it too soon to let go of him? We won't let go of Mother Sue ever, you know, but for him specifically, was it too soon to let go of him for them to be able to survive in one unit whenever they get to the merge?
Well, the question was because me and Jake didn't do any pre-game stuff this season.
I cannot believe it.
Watching the premiere last week was the first time. Like I knew
Do
certain
you
people
not
were going
have
to be playing because
joy?
of the advertisements and everything. Like, huh? I didn't look at any pregame interviews. I didn't read who these people liked and who they did like. I was trying to
Mhm.
keep it as as on the level I guess as possible. So my like TK was like, okay, he's black, so I want him to do well. But outside of that, like I have no expectations. Um, as far as what this means for that tribe, I mean, we've talked about it. Like Kyle could be in a bad spot, but it does seem like I doubt that Sam's the only person in the game that feels like you have to make big moves all the time. And
That's
so if Sam has that mentality over here, someone else on this tribe could be like, oh yeah, now Kyle's on the bottom, but like I got to make big moves because Will Wall's a piece of shit and once said you got to have a resume and big moves and all this and Sierra Easton and all that jazz. When in reality you don't. When now in reality you should just stay the course. The point comes. For instance, this was a big move. This was a big move in a blindside this episode. It was a big move
Mhm.
in a blindside this episode because it had to happen, not because they were trying to jot things down on a resume. It was like, okay, well, this happened
Yes.
because
Great
we
point.
want to keep our person safe and Tiana's upset with how TK has went about everything. And she
Yeah.
even gives a confessional where she's like, I told myself before I got here, emotions and game, two different things. You got to separate them. But I don't like the way that this Jamoke is talking to me,
Yeah.
and I might have to go this route. And so
Mhm.
I saw this comment earlier. Yes, it could potentially come back and bite Tiana in the ass because
Mhm.
she is now on the bottom of a 4-person voting block. And then like she could go back to Kyle, but there's no point. So like they could flip it on her next time.
Yeah. I go back and
But
forth if it was the right move
yeah,
for
go ahead.
Tiana. Sorry, I'm cutting you off. I could, on that same comment, like I go back and forth if it was the right move or if it was the wrong move because we just talked about how quickly this game and all of the dynamics change. Like I can promise you that like at some point, especially when you're playing a game like the way that Gabe is playing it right now, like it just takes one misstep or one side comment or someone picking up on one thing you're doing without bringing in your entire alliance for it to shift the entire power dynamic, you know? I could be wrong, you know, like maybe it's going to be something where like he continues to stay near the top of it, you know, but like knowing how other people even in his alliance feel about him and how wary they are, it makes me wary about his long-term chances moving forward, you know?
we're Kyle. So I know you called him like sweet baby Kyle earlier, but I do love like
Oh,
because he's just wholesome old Kyle.
have
Um,
you ever like seen that episode of How I Met Your Mother when they just go, "Oh, honey," like over like every I'm like, "Oh,
I've seen
honey."
every episode of How I Met Your
That like he's
Mother.
just so darling. Sorry. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
He was irritating people back at camp. A peaceful camp life may be needed to handle the stress of
Good
survivors.
point.
Yeah,
You too,
like
Bearcat.
the fact that he was burying everyone, specifically Tiana after the challenge, someone that's supposed to be in a tight three with him, and him not wanting to apologize or regretting anything from that. I'm gonna if I'm Tiana and whoever else, I want to be with people that I can, because yes, it's 26 days, whatever. I still have to spend a lot of days out here, and if I'm already not vibing with them at the first sign of trouble, person is saying all this stuff about me, why would I want to last another 2-3 weeks with this person out here? That'd be
Yeah,
insane. So
for
I
sure.
get it. I get why you do that in that situation. Now, whether it lasts later, who's to say? But
Mhm.
I think in that moment, yes, it might have been a bit emotional, but like, who cares? Like, that's
Mhm.
at a certain point, you got to do something because you don't want to. You can
Absolutely.
go ahead.
Oh, I agree with you. I have nothing else in conjunction to say to that. I just completely agree. My bad.
Oh no, no. So outside of that, uh, there's a comment. Red TK's ex doesn't get it that he irritated the folks on his tribe.
I was gonna listen to that later
Emily, have
today.
you read that?
No, I was gonna listen. I still like I listened to all the RHAP ones first, so I'm gonna listen to that probably either later tonight or first thing tomorrow, just to get an idea. But then I'll also read the exit interview from TK with EW if we get the recommendation. Then Danica, that's an amazing question. Um, if it goes back into play, is it just going to be like traditional, like JK, you know, just like hiding another idol, or is it going to be like not gate and like you know, like them like hiding it in big loud things that they, you know, like is it just going to
I
continue
think
to read?
that it's probably like obviously we don't know everything that kind of goes on out there, but like I feel like the first like not gate like as you said it. I feel like you can only do that when people aren't there. And now easily, if they could do that while they go to a challenge, they can set up a whole bunch of things again.
Mhm.
Um, but I next idol might be easier to like they'll still have them do like an obstacle course or whatever in order to
Yeah,
get it, a scavenger hunt in order to get it. But I don't think it'll be as convoluted as the first one because they might not have time. But that's just speculation. I don't know how much time they actually have to do all of that.
absolutely. Yeah. Gabe has a great question too. Predictions for next episode. Okay, so what we saw, did you watch the preview or are you too cool for that too, Andrew? Hello?
Wait, wait, what?
I said, did you watch the
Wait,
preview
what?
for next week or are you too cool for that too?
I did not watch the preview.
Well, I'll tell you. Next time
I'm
on
too cool for it.
Survivor, Sierra calls out Sam and wait, no. Wait, Annika calls out Sam and Sierra and is like, "Are you guys like a couple or something?" And then Sam gets mad. So that's one thing. And then I forget. And there's like another clip with Rome, I think is the other part. Someone else catch me in the comments if I'm wrong. But that was the big thing. So it seems like there's going to be a little bit more tension to camp based on what we know. Um, who do you think is going home? We should make a bet. Let's each pick one.
Who do I think's going home?
Yeah.
Annika, sure. I'll just do Annika.
Oh, that was the one I was going to do. Okay.
Yeah, I'll do
Yeah, I
Annika.
agree. I think Annika is outie from Yellow. I'm still a little nervous, like I'm nervous for the big player, the flashy players like Gabe and Rome. Still, like that to me, like if it's really big, really quickly, unsure. I'm wondering if like the Rome thing is going to be similar to like TK, just in the way where it's causing like waves, and gets rid of the peace in the tribe. It makes me a little nervous. I'm wondering if there'll be some sort of blind side to flush the idol. But overall, if Yellow goes back to tribal, which typically, let's be real, Yellow typically does, I would venture to guess that maybe it would also be Annika. I think that it's just like it's they've been featuring her pretty early, but like
Yeah.
but haven't been giving her as much depth as some of the other cast members, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah,
And I like Annika, but yeah, I
she's
think that
fine.
that might be the
Yeah,
route we're going to.
yeah.
So we will be having Jake will be back from his trip next week. Emily, thank you so much for taking the time to do this.
My
It's
pleasure. It's what
been
I
great
do. I'm
shooting the
thriving.
shit with you again.
Every
Everyone, I apologize once again. You know, the weather is horrible here, so like I've been super laggy, but it happens. Hopefully, we'll be better next week. I don't see why we wouldn't be. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. We've got Chris and Kahuna doing their recap on Monday, our time, Eastern Standard Time. So look forward to that. Make sure to watch everything our challenge recaps, our Big Brother recap, and yeah, thank you again, and we will see you guys soon.
Cool. Thanks, guys.